There's tons of career advice out there. So to summarize, study hard, get good grades, get into a good uni, work hard, save up, and buy a house. It's easy. I feel like a lot of it is completely blind to what is going on right now. Layoffs, inflation, technology changing everything, people getting burned out and disillusioned with the grind. So let's make career advice like it's 2024. If you want a successful but sustainable career and happiness and accomplishment without selling your soul, I got you. In my 20s, I often felt lost and confused, was far from having it all figured out. I had 4 different careers: nonprofits, public affairs, sales, and content creation. That's lots of space to learn and make mistakes. And I made quite a lot of mistakes. I'm pretty sure that a lot of my former colleagues still remember me for all the wrong reasons. This video is a summary of all the things that I had to learn the hard way. And I believe if I knew these things back then, that would have saved me a lot of tears, a lot of heartbreak and disappointment. Also, this advice comes from the highs of my career, like getting my dream job, but also lows, like the time I kind of lost my mind and my therapist insisted that I take a break. We'll talk career progression, employability, finding opportunities, fulfillment, and mental health. About a year ago, I quit my job in sales to pursue broadly defined content creation. A lot of people in my surroundings had a lot to say about this, and let's just say not everyone was fully supportive. After a few months, they were like, "You said there's money in it, so where's the money?" And since growing any business takes time, I did not have much to show them, and their words were enough for me to start doubting myself and questioning my choices. I started thinking, well, maybe I should go back to my old job. Maybe that's all there is for me. There's this quote: back in the day when people had horses, if you ask someone who had a horse what they wanted, they would have said, "I want a faster horse." They didn't know that a car is an option because it didn't exist. People default to what they know. Career-wise, business-wise, they go for the safest option. It doesn't mean that you have to. People often focus on trying to fix the existing solution to the problem rather than thinking of an entirely new way to solve a problem. But only you know what you're capable of, and a safe bet is not always the best bet. So take advice with a pinch of salt. Try to insulate yourself from peer pressure, parental pressure, which I know is insanely hard, but you have to remember, our parents lived in an entirely different reality. They think that 2 + 2 still equals 4, but it doesn't. 75% of today's kids in primary school will work in jobs that don't yet exist. I'm working in a job that did not exist when I was in high school. Sometimes not taking the risk will be the greatest risk that you can take. So dream big, and if you want to go for it, just go for it. I remember when I started in my first corporate job, I felt so lost and so out of place. I came from nonprofit background. I had 0 formal business or economics education. It felt like corporate is a foreign language that I don't speak, but everyone else does. Everyone else had a clear career path and a 5-year plan, 10-year plan. And I didn't really know what to do, how to upskill, what projects to take on. But thankfully, I had a very wise and helpful manager, so I asked her for advice. She said, if you are unsure about what you want to do in the future, focus on building skills that would allow you to build your own business. This way, you can run your own business, but if you work for somebody else, that's also great because you have skills that are very useful to running a business. So you're very employable. And I've been trying to follow this advice. I think it allowed me to build some of the most useful skills that I have now. If you're anything like me, the moment someone says networking, you know deep in your heart that you would rather do literally anything else but networking. Well, thankfully, there's another way to expand your social circle and find new opportunities. Meg's J-defining decade introduces this concept of weak ties, which are casual connections like acquaintances or people you know through shared activities. And unlike networking, which, at least to me, can feel a bit self-serving, weak ties are based on genuine connections and shared activities, shared experiences. So hobbies, volunteering, faith groups, friends of friends, and every person you meet introduces you to yet a wider network of people. And when you expand your social circle, you open yourself up to new opportunities, but in a way that's natural. If you follow the channel, then you might know I've been feeling quite lonely recently, and I asked one neighbor if I could walk their dogs. And they said no. But following this, another neighbor said, feel free to walk my dogs. So I'm walking my neighbor's dogs now. Every now and then we exchange some small talk, and I mentioned casually that I'm applying for jobs, and he generously offered to refer me for a job within the company where he works. And so far I said that I don't really need it, but it was so kind and generous of him to offer, and so unexpected as well. And I think very often people are more willing to offer to help you and really, really want to help you if you met in circumstances where you did not come there already knowing that you're going to ask a favor. So if you hate networking, embrace the power of weak ties. Imagine you're in a restaurant and you see a dish that you really like. Only the dish has beetroot and you don't like beetroot. So you ask the waiter, I don't like beetroot. Is there a lot of it? And they say, well, no, it's just garnish. You can easily just put it away. So you order the dish, but when you get it, it turns out it's only beetroot. So you ask, hey, could I exchange it for something else? And they are like, no, if you don't like it, I can just take it away. And this is literally what happened to me with one of my jobs. The job description said it's only going to be 5 to 10% operations. And I really don't like operations, but the job turned out to be 100% operations. Took me an entire year of suffering and struggling and my confidence going down because I was doing things that I'm not really good at, I don't really like. And then I finally decided to quit. My only regret was that I did not quit earlier. I would have saved myself the inevitable breakdown. But the thing is, we often stick to wrong decisions because of the so-called sunk cost fallacy. We feel like all this effort, all this time that we put into something is just going to go to waste if we decide to do something different. But the truth is, it's a bit like as if you were on a train and you realize you're on the wrong train. The longer you wait to get off the train, the more expensive and time-consuming it's going to be to get to where you actually wanted to go. So ask yourself, am I on the right train? And if the answer is no, get off the train. Leave work at work. It's easy to say, it's much harder to do at times. We all had that one job where saying no is not an option and you can't afford to leave. When I was in a place like this, my mental health really suffered and I felt really alone. And it's very hard to find a piece of advice that could help if you are in a situation like this. But one thing that did help me a bit was trying to detach my sense of self-worth and happiness away from work to other things. And I'm not talking about time allocation because you can't control that. But at least you can try and shift the attention and the value that you attach to things away from work to other things. I realized that my identity was strongly linked to work, which made things very hard when work wasn't going the way I wanted it to. And once I realized this, I started cultivating a strong sense of self in other areas. So being a good friend, being a sport enthusiast, being a book reader. And I think by cultivating a strong sense of self in other areas of life, you are better equipped to handle challenges at work and also find joy in other places. There's certainly more to life than work, and a job should empower you to have the life that you want and not take away from it. I used to always stress so much about every single job interview. I would research and study for days. I would try to memorize as much as possible. And I would just be so anxious. And then my friend who worked in the recruitment sector gave me this one piece of advice that really changed my perspective. She said, look, they are hiring someone to be part of the team. They want somebody easy to work with, and they want someone they would enjoy having lunch with every day. It's not only about your skills, it's also about your personality. And when I thought about that, I realized that I was giving stressed and desperate vibes all the time, which isn't really true to who I am. I really care about human interactions, and I'm always trying to be positive and nice. So I did some work and I saw that advice play out in real life quite recently in my last job interview, where I actually did not get the job. But a few months later, one of the interviewers contacted me and he said, I really enjoyed our conversation and I thought you would be a good fit. Do you want to apply? So it may seem like a small thing, but kindness and a positive attitude can really go a long way. Kindness always wins. I feel like this is possibly the most underrated piece of advice ever. If you like this video, please let me know. I can always make a part 2. If you hated it, also let me know, and you'll never hear from me again. I'm kidding. If you didn't like it, please give me some feedback, and I'll try again in the next one.